Hey, this is Sam Cole from ODE. Hopefully you can hear me. I just clicked the record button, so I'm remembering to record this webinar. And this webinar is a webinar for data collection for the CSPR and child count for Title 1D. So it's still not 9 o'clock, so we'll just give everybody a few more minutes to join us. So I see the people that are here are Holly Meadows from Three Rivers School District, Jay Zollinger from High Desert ESD, Kimberly Shear from Forest Grove, Melissa Fong from MESD, Todd Martinez from Southern Oregon ESD, Brian Henson from Douglas ESD, and waiting for one more person. So good morning, everybody. Hopefully all of you guys are having a good week, and we'll have a good weekend. Can all of you guys hear me? Okay, Todd said yes. Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just wait about 30 more seconds to start. And this will be a very simple webinar for those that have been doing it for quite a while. It'll be very simple. It may not be new information for you, but for those that are doing it for the first time, this might be helpful. And it'll give you some background information of why we do it. Okay. So I'm curious. So Holly, you've been doing this for a while. So are you going to do long-term care treatment too, or only YCEP?
Only YCEP. Only YCEP.
You sure you don't want to help Brent with long-term care treatment too?
I think he has the over there do it.
Okay, great. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so it's 9:01, and I know all of you are busy, so let's start. Okay, so Title 1D, and there's some confusion out there, and then this is how we are organized here. ODE, we get our Title 1D funds from the feds, and Title 1D is for neglected and delinquent. Everyone is aware of Title 1A, that's for free and reduced. Russ Sweet is the ODE statewide coordinator for Title 1 NND. He's also the person for Title 1A. Now, Title 1D, there's Subpart 1, which is state-operated facilities, and there's Subpart 2, which are locally operated facilities. So I'm the coordinator for LTCT and YCEP, which is Subpart 1, and Russ is the coordinator for Subpart 2, which are JDEP, shelter care, and other facilities not under long-term care treatment, such as Perry Center or not Perry Center, I'm sorry, Parrot Creek in Canby School District, which is not an LTCT program, nor Bologna Ranch. They could be Subpart 2 because we are not funding it. So the difference between Subpart 1 and Subpart 2 are state-operated and locally operated. And JDEP falls under Subpart 2 because they are county-level facilities. So if you receive Subpart 1 funds through me, you cannot receive Subpart 2 funds from Russ for your facility. Hopefully that's clear. You can't double dip. So the webinar is in two parts. Both are due on December 1. So the two parts are child count and CSPR. So we're going to do the CSPR first for both YCEP and JDEP. YCEP and long-term care treatment. And we'll do child count for LTCT. So, and then when we transition to child count, that's when the YCEP people you can cease participating in the webinar. And the reason why YCEP does not have to participate in child count is because Julie Clements, who's here at ODE, does the child count for YCEP because we have a statewide student information system for YCEP. We do not have a statewide information system for long-term care treatment, so that's why the long-term care treatment sites need to submit their counts to me via the Survey Gizmo. Now, the CSPR data that is supplied to me is provided to USDOE, and USDOE has a group called I don't even know what their full name is, but I know it's NDTAC. Their full name is the National Technical Assistance Center for the Education of Neglected and Delinquent Children and Youth. They are contracted by USDOE to provide the technical assistance for Title I Subpart D, and they do a lot of stuff for us. There's like Title I-D, the overview statutes, administering topic areas, and so forth. What they do is, and then USDOE sends that data to them, and they post it on their website. So here's Oregon, and this needs to be updated. It's no longer Trina Luton. It's actually Teresa Richards. And then from here, if you click Oregon Stats, you get to see the data that was submitted for Subpart 1 and so forth. And then here is Subpart 2. If you click Subpart 2, the number of students served and so forth. Juvenile corrections, other programs. So in Oregon, our Department of Corrections, they don't, our adults, they don't take Subpart 1D, or 2, so they're not listed there. And here, neglected outweighs the delinquent because we have a lot more long-term care treatment sites than YCEP sites. And I have to say, which we have gotten approval from USDOE, Oregon, we have broadened our definition for neglected, so that's why other states have not. And traditionally, the neglected has been orphanages. So in Oregon, because we don't have orphanages, we have LTCT sites. We've broadened the term to include day and residential treatment sites. As you can see, nationally, other states have not done so, but we have done so because we know our kids and our long-term care treatment sites need additional funding. And without that, it roughly brings in about $900-something thousand for LTCT sites every year, and for YCEP brings in about $500,000. So this is the data that we submit, and that's posted online. Now, what USDOE uses is they need this data to go to Congress to advocate for our funding for Title I-D. So that's why we need to submit the data to them. And here's the data that we, in Excel format, what the data asks for. For a lot of you, it would be just one, and then you would have to do the average length of stay, and that is calendar days, not school days. And then the number of students with disabilities, ERL, and so forth, unduplicated, broken up by race, ethnicity, gender, age, and they all have to match up. They all have to match up. So total number of kids served needs to match up with the gender, with the race, ethnicity, and the age. And here are other data elements that the CSPR asks for. Oh, and everybody should say yes to question 1. Are facilities in your state permitted to collect data on student outcomes after exit? Yes. Whether you're able to, that's a different story, because there is no state law in Oregon that prevents you from doing that. Other states have laws from preventing facilities to contact their students once they've left, but we do not have, so we are yes. And then these are basic questions, basic elements. Enrolled in their school districts after release, enrolled in high school and so forth, GED program, GED, and so forth. So these are the data elements. And the long-term students with negative grade level change from pre and post, we use Let's Go Learn. So hopefully, well, you should all be using Let's Go Learn as your pre and post tests. Any questions so far? No questions? Okay, so the survey gizmo that you guys have the link to, access to, that is not something I created. It's from NDTAC. They created that. So it's to help states collect the data from all the sub-grantees. And with us having 41 LTCT sites, it's a tremendous, tremendous help. Okay, so wait, so we have a question. For day treatment, are we still using school days since they're not there on weekends? Yes, yes, because they want to know the length of stay they were enrolled or part of your program. Yes, calendar days. And remember, a lot of these, it is not SAMCO or ODE creating the definitions or the or the data elements. It's US DOE. Okay, so the way it goes is we send the collection tool to the facilities programs. Facilities programs complete the online data tool. Then I get the tool, I review the data, and I call the facilities if there's questions. And then I go and I contact the facilities to clean things up. And if sites haven't completed it, then I chase after them. And then I submit it to USD via CSPR and EdFax. Here's another question. How about counting summer days for residential sites that do not have school? No, you wouldn't count those. How about counting summer days for residential sites that do not have school? No, you would not count those. Because, and then this is for the school year. Next. Okay. So it is required that data is entered for each program separately. For instance, at Southern ESD, you have 3 programs. So you would have to submit 3 different surveys for each of your programs. You can't just do one for all 3. Just like for Gene, you have, I think, 3 different institution numbers. So you would have to do 3 different institution numbers, 3 different surveys. They want it by facility. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any other questions on the chat. Now, so here's question and answers. These are some of the questions that have come up over time. It is required data is entered for each program separately. If you have 2 programs, and you twice, 1 for each neglected program. And also if you have 2 separate YCEP sites, 1 per YCEP site. Length of school year, say yes. The numbers the totals need to match for gender, ethnicity total, and for subcontractors, they would have to submit, and they would have to submit the institution number for the contractor. For instance, for instance, like LBL for your subcontractor, if they're submitting the data, they would still input in LBL's institution as a submitting entity. So, any questions on the CSPR? No questions on the CSPR? And this is something that we do every year. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to go to child count. And so for those of you that do YCEP, you're able to log off. And then for LTCT site, child count. This directly, I mean directly impacts your funding for Title 1D. So what happens is we collect your data like in November or in December. I total it up, then I give it to Russ Sweet, and then Russ Sweet gives it to USDOE in January. Then in January, then USDOE uses that count in January to advocate to Congress for the upcoming fiscal year's allocation for Title 1D. So what happens is, that's why I need all your child counts in December to give to Russ so he can give to USDOE. So the following August or September, ODE gets the Title 1D funding, and then we allocate it to you, I think, in October for your Title 1D amount. So that's why we need your child count. Now, the law states we can select any date from January 1 through December 31. Because we don't have a statewide student information system for long-term care treatment, it'd be impossible for us to ascertain the single date with the highest enrollment. So what I've selected is I selected these 6 states, and I will tabulate the counts from these 6 states, and whichever count has the highest date of enrollment, that will be selected. For instance, if it's March 16, if there's 850, February there's 800, April there's 600, and so forth, I'll select March 16. And whatever count for your facility that'll be the count that will be submitted to USU. It's not going to be where I select a certain number from February, a certain number from March, a certain number from April, and so forth. We can only select one date. So the survey gizmo asks for your enrollment for on these 6 dates. And then I see a question. For school day treatment, length of school average is number of days school year.
Just so that way where you're
No. So okay. So the average. Okay. So when we talk about the average, when we at average length of stay, that's really hard to do. I know if you use in Excel, it's really hard to do. If you use a student information system, if you have Synergy from EduPoint, what it will do is there's a report that'll run that will determine all the kids that were there and that were enrolled in your program, and it will determine the average length of enrollment for your school. So that average length of stay is the same as your average length of school in your program. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's how a lot of schools do it. Length of stay is actually the length of enrollment in your LTCT site, not your school. Okay, going on. So from here I select the date, and then I submit that to Russ Sweet, and he then submits it to USDOE. And then that is a very, very important, child count. That really impacts your Title 1D funding. So, and then that's about it. Does anyone have any questions on the CSPR, on the purpose or the process? And then in the email that I sent the other day, it has the links to the survey gizmo. We've been doing that for a couple of years now. And feel free to give me a call if you have questions, further questions, or email me. Any other questions or comments?
Morning.
Good morning. Someone had a question? Okay, no questions. Okay, so thank you for participating. We'll end this webinar. Feel free to give me a call or email me if you have any questions. Throughout when you're actually doing it, December 1 is the due date. Please submit it because that gives me 2 weeks to chase after everybody and gives me 2 weeks to get everything in. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. And for those, I might see you later on at 1 p.m. this morning for long-term care treatment fiscal. And that'll be some updates for long-term care treatment. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.